Hello and welcome back to Animated Banners with CSS. Now that we've got our initial block of text set up in the position that we want it to be in once it animates onto the banner, now we're going to temporarily turn that text off and turn our other text on for the second slide or the second set of text that's going to animate in. So we've already created that text. If we go into our HTML file, and first of all, I've moved everything into a new folder, so all the changes we make in this lesson will be saved in the banner 06 folder. And we have our first H3 here, and right after that we've commented out our second heading text. So let's comment out this first one, and then we'll grab the second one and uncomment it. And I've got a keyboard shortcut for commenting and uncommenting code in TextMate, and that's Command / if you're using TextMate. If you're not using TextMate, you might have to do it by hand, but a lot of these text editing programs do have shortcuts for that, so you might search your menus for that. But again, in TextMate, you can hit Command / in order to turn comments off and on once you've highlighted a section of text. So we've turned off the comment for our second heading here. Now let's turn on the comments for our winter sale text, which are these two paragraphs here, and then turn off the comment that we created for our second two paragraphs so that we can actually see them in our browser. So let's save that and look at it in our browser by refreshing, and we can see that this hasn't been positioned yet. The Friday and Saturday text has been positioned from the top, but we still haven't positioned it from the left side of the browser, so we need to do that. So let's go back into our CSS and we'll focus on that first. And that is contained in txt heading 02. So we'll go into banner.css and we'll look for txt heading 01, and we'll do this just below it. So we'll start off using the same value, txt heading 02, and we'll give it a left value of 400 pixels and see if that works. So we'll save that, refresh our page, and that actually works pretty well. I don't necessarily want it to be centered in this area. I want this to be aligned a little to the left, and then the click here text to be aligned a little bit more to the right. So I don't want it to be perfectly centered, so that actually works really well. So now let's focus on the click here to learn more text, which are contained in these two paragraphs here. And the first paragraph says click here in all caps, and the second paragraph says to learn more. So the click here text is actually going to be a lot larger than the second set of text. So again, this is going to be set up a little bit differently than the txt 01 and 02 were. So let's save our HTML file there, go back to CSS, and let's get started on that. So let's come down here and create a new rule for txt 03 and txt 04. And again, they're going to have different font sizes, and we might experiment with that a little bit. For this first one, we're going to give it the same font size we gave to our paragraphs before. We're going to give it a font size of 100 pixels. For the bottom one, it's going to be a little smaller. I'm going to try a font size here of, let's try 60 pixels. Then, just to get an idea of where these are going to end up, I'm going to enter the same left and top values that we used for text 01 and text 02. So for text 01, I'm going to copy left and top here and paste it in text 03. And then we'll copy the values for left and top in text 02 and paste them in text 04. Now that's not where it's going to end up. We just want to see where it is, and then we can make adjustments. So let's save that, go back to our browser and refresh. And the first thing I see is that I like the size of the text. The one on the bottom is smaller than the one on the top, and I think they look good together. So now we just need to position them a little bit better. I don't want them to be quite so far to the right, but I do want them to move down ever so slightly. And I want to start by moving just the bottom one down to see how it looks once it's cleared the text above it. So let's do that first. Let's take our bottom text, which is in txt 04, and let's increase the top value there by 20. Let's bring that up to 200 pixels, save it, and refresh. And that's a little bit far, but it's okay because I want to move the top one down a little bit as well. So we'll go back up to text 03, and let's set its top position. Let's just move it down 10 pixels. So let's bring it down to 120. Save it, refresh, and that's a little bit better. I just want to move this bottom one down another 5 pixels so that it's not touching the text field above it. So we'll come back down here and set our top value for this one to 205, save it and refresh, and that looks pretty good. But for kicks, I want to see what it'll look like if we move this text over to the right a little bit more. Let's bring it all the way up to 650 so that it's 100 pixels further to the right than the text above it. So let's save that and refresh. And that actually looks pretty good too. In fact, I'm going to stick with that. I'm just going to pull it all over to the left now. So let's pull it all over about 100 pixels. So we'll change this text 03 left position to 450. And for text 04, we'll change it to 550. Save that and refresh. And that pulls it over maybe a little too much. So let's push that back over about halfway. So let's bring this up to 500 and then bring this one up to 600. Save that and refresh. And that looks pretty good. And again, you can play with the positioning there a little bit more. I don't want to get too picky with it because I want to move forward and start talking about the animation itself. But that really looks good. I like the way that everything's positioned. I like the way the text looks. I like the size of the text. And we're making some progress. So for now, I'm going to turn off this text here and go back to our original text or our first set of text. So we'll go back into TextMate here, go back into our HTML. And once again, I'm going to uncomment this first line or this first heading and re-comment the second heading. And then we'll uncomment these first two paragraphs. And sometimes we might need to redo the indentation there a little bit. And then we'll put another comment around the second two paragraphs there. So once again, let's save it, go back to our page and refresh it, and everything looks good. So with that out of the way, we'll move on to the next video. Thank you for watching.